Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nukkad Dialogues. I am Eshan Sharma, and today with me I have a very special guest, one of my favorite storytellers, Priya Muthukumar from Bangalore. Hi, Priya, and welcome to the session.
Hi, Ishan.
Priya,
Thank you so much.
Priya is a storyteller and also an author, and now she's, I think, a course facilitator at NIFT Bangalore, and she is going to teach storytelling to students. And it is such an honor because I always wanted to learn storytelling. I'm not a good storyteller, and towards the end of this session we'll ask her about her experiences of storytelling and how she can tell us how to be a good storyteller. To begin the session, Priya, I am a history student, and India's history tradition was based on oral history. The Itihasa was in the Smriti literature, which was memorized and passed on orally to different generations. It was never recorded, it was never written. It was like stories. And we see these traditions still today, still prevailing in the nation in form of Ram Leelas, Krishna Leelas, and other dance forms that are, there in India. So, how do you see the history of storytelling in India over the years, and how it is right now?
If you ask me, Ishan, I'm not a historian. So, whatever I'm going to tell you is from what I have gained from books, what I've heard from people. So, if you see, my jump into storytelling itself was purely an accident. Somewhere it clicked for me. I felt stories and storytellings bring in that heart to heart connection, irrespective of the gender, irrespective of the age group, irrespective of socio-economical background. And that's exactly what I was searching for in my life. Once I came across storytelling and I found out being an introvert, I was able to connect with so many people. It was like one magic wand for me. So I didn't want to let go of it. So that's how I came into storytelling. And I started reading about storytelling when people came to me and said, can you conduct workshops for us? Can you tell us more about workshops? So, as far as my knowledge goes about storytelling in history, if you see, it's considered to be one of the foremost art forms which emerged first, one amongst the first. And it started with the cave men and women. Those days, when they sat around the fire, the first kind of information which they wanted to pass on was about caution. Don't go that side. There is a man eater. There's a tiger that side. That they wanted to pass on. Don't go this side. There's a tree with fruits, because we were all hunter gatherers. So they had to pass on this information, and they started doing that through stories. And generally, who did that? The wise men and women, the old women, the grandmothers and grandfathers in that community. Slowly, which started off as amongst cavemen and women, moved on to civilizations. We started having our own agricultural crops. We started growing our whatever fruits, vegetables, cultivation, everything happened. So the food part was kind of taken care of. So slowly then we started focusing on, we had kings and kingdoms. So we had Maharajas, Maharanis, ministers. So now food part is taken care of. We have someone to rule our country. Then came stories about values, virtues, justice, morals. We had Tenali Raman, Akbar Birbal kind of stories coming in, where indirectly values were kind of given to us. Panchatantra is a classic example. So many values, virtues through animals, Jataka tales, those kind of, those genre of stories emerged. Okay, now food is taken care of, values, virtues, way of living is taken care of. The next level we went on to, we had time for entertainment. When we had time for entertainment, we started telling stories about music, dance. We started interspersing stories, music, dance. So slowly, there was an evolution of stories. And the journey of stories throughout the evolution of mankind has always been there, has gone. It's been hand in hand. We never stopped telling stories. We just chose what kind of stories we will tell according to the need and requirement of the society. Like I can tell from my own experience. When I started storytelling 7 years ago, the first thing which I realized, I'm still passionate about environment and sustainability. But we didn't have stories about electronic waste, e-waste or electrical electronic waste disposal. So what was the immediate need? Writing your own stories and telling those stories. So those stories emerged. And now our Yash Tiwari, you must be knowing, right? He's writing pandemic stories. Now that again, for to suit the current scenario. So if you see, Eshan's stories have always been with us, and we have evolved along with stories. Stories have always been part of our journey. That's been part of our history, as you said.
Yeah, I think every student is a storyteller, because whenever we do not do our homeworks, we have to tell a story to our teacher.
I
So
know.
I think the
Yeah.
first thing a child learn is a story, because the nana, nani, every grandparent is full of stories for their grandsons and children. So Priya, when I was growing up in early 2000s, and I think 2004-5, there were no children literature available in the nation like we do have now. Many, Deepa Agarwal and great authors are coming up with great books. Earlier, there were, comic books like Natraj and Chacha Chaudhary. Those were kind of books that were present. So, how do you see this trend emerging, like the children's or children literature? A new genre of writing is emerging, and I think many more writers are coming up with their books. How do you see this? Is this very positive? And also, in addition to this question, what is the impact writing have on young minds? What impact does it make?
Okay, if you ask me from a storyteller's point of view, because children's literature is like so many people, it's handheld by writers, authors, illustrators, storytellers, publishers. From a storyteller point of view, if you see, we had different kinds of books. My generation, if you ask me, I remember my father very passionately getting us Asterix, Obelix, Tinkle, Amar Chitrakatha, and there used to be one character called Sad Sad. He's not there no more. Richie Rich, those kind of books. But as you very rightly pointed out, it was kind of limited, I would say, from my experience. But now, hats off to the kind of writers and publishers we have. We have a wide range, which touches a chord with almost everyone. Like for example, there's mythology. People who are writing about mythology. Very contemporary literature is available right now, which you can relate to. If you ask me, when I grew up, I used to read a lot of books, and if you ask me about the pictures which remain in my head, I can see a blonde girl with pink cheeks. Those were the pictures I saw in the books. But now, if you see, it is so relatable. My country, I can see brown skin children, pictures of children about talking about. I have a book about domestic violence for a small child from his point of view. It's so interesting and it's well written. There are books about different religions, stories from their communities, stories about how to embrace one and all. It could be stray animals, it could be being responsible, like how do you throw a broken light bulb. So you see, as I told you earlier also, stories evolve. We evolve with stories and stories evolve with us. We are all hand holding. Same way, children's literature also has kind of evolved to suit the here and now requirements of our community, I would say. And I purely enjoy children's literature. I just love, and you won't believe it, I tell the same stories to my students who are 20 and 25 years old, and they love it. Probably in a different style, but it's the same story I tell them. So yeah, it's nice. I just love children's literature, the current scenario.
Yeah, I think reason for it is because they tell you a moral behind the story in a very simple language, which is very well understood by most of the people. So I think that is one of the reasons why it is very famous these days among every age group, I think. So
You asked
I
me
think,
a you asked me
yeah,
a second question, no, Ishan. I don't know whether I answered that. What was the second part of the
the
question?
impact of writing on young minds. Reading,
That's a
sorry, not writing, reading. Yeah,
books, stories, literature. Now, yeah, it is not just the books, the paper books, the actual books. So we have digital reading, different formats are there. I think all along stories have retained their charm. And also, it is a lot to do with the seeker. The person who's reading is also important, right? It's like old wine in a new bottle, they say, na? You just keep changing the bottle, that's all. But at the core, we are all the same. The stories which we tell each other are also same. So from those days till today's, stories do have an impact on young minds. I mean, they bring us close. Yeah, I can say that from my experience. You might think that a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old, will they listen to this story? Will this story from this book work? But when it's narrated effectively, soul to soul, it does work. Yeah,
yeah.
Ishan.
So I would recommend the viewers to go and watch Priya's. There was a story on plastic spoon, I think. 1 or 2 years back, I watched that, and it was such a great story, I think, and everybody must view that. I think it is available on her YouTube channel, I think, or Facebook
Yes.
page of Storypoor.
Yeah, it is.
So, Priya, you know, I always wanted to be a storyteller. I'm not a good storyteller. I cannot, make stories and tell in a very fashionable way. What are the characteristics that you need to be a storyteller, and how to be a good storyteller?
Okay. So I come from a belief system, uh, and I very strongly believe that all of us are storytellers. We are wired to listen to and tell stories. This is a very cliched statement, but I believe in that because our forefathers, even when they were those days when they were hunter gatherers, they started telling stories. They started listening to stories, and that's how they came closer to each other. So somewhere we've been listening to stories throughout our evolution. We've been telling stories. The simple journey of me coming to my school is in a story format. I had to take the bus, and the bus went through this road. There was a traffic jam, ma'am. That's why I came late. That is actually a narrative. That's a story. I think as stories. We all think in the form of stories. Oh, today I'll finish my homework and then I'm going to watch this program, and then Mama's going to make aloo paratha. I'm going. That is again up in the form of narrative. So we think and we talk in the form of narratives or stories. So we can all tell stories is what I'm telling. And if you ask me you ask me the characteristic, right? I feel storytelling is such an emotional thing. If you want to tell a story and there's the story which so much it had touched you, just go ahead and tell that story. You have to just tell it and tweak it according to the needs of your audience. I mean, it happens very naturally. It should not be like, today I read this story, I liked it so much, and I'm going to go to my classroom. It could be school or class or whatever. I have to tell the story. They're going to listen to it or not. Then it becomes your need. There should be a mutual thing. Make sure you need to feel the pulse of the crowd. Do you think this audience will like my story? Are they ready to take this story? So that's one thing. It should be a lot of hand holding. Harmony between you and your listeners is something which I believe in, and it's a lot to do with emotional connect. Do not stop yourself saying, can I tell a story? Am I ready for it or not? No, just tell. We have it in us, and we all of us will pick it up as we go. That's how I have kind of learned, all these 7 to 8 years, travel this journey of storytelling. Every time I go for a session or do a story, the first thing is, something worked of course, I will repeat it next time. If something didn't work, yes, I'm extremely self-critical. I will analyze it and I'll make sure I don't do it the next time. I tried, but now that too is kind of, I've become a little nice to myself. If I make a mistake, I tell myself it's okay. Next time I won't do it. That's about it. So basically, that's the thing about storytelling. It's about emotional connect. Everyone can tell stories is one thing. And the other thing which I would like to tell is, are you a music person? Are you a dance person? Are you the kind who loves imagery, pictures? So find out that little thing about yourself, because that helps. If you are a music person, you can sing songs in your stories. Now, if you the little I know about you, Eshan, I know you're extremely passionate about history, right? And right, and you're also very passionate about working with young people. Okay,
Yeah.
activism. If you have that, make use of that. Bring that in your stories. Pick up stories which bring out that activistic zeal. So then it becomes very natural to you because that's your area, right? So pick up stories like that. So that's what I do. If a story really appeals to me, I just go ahead and I tell the story. Most importantly, make sure to have fun. You should be happy as a storyteller, because that shows if you're not comfortable with something, like for example, if you're not comfortable with the ending in the story, something, just don't go and tell the story. Be wary of your audience, who all are coming, like small things I'll tell you, which I have learned. I remember doing a story. I've told this also in several workshops, in a community of where children with a lot of difficulties lived together. There was one child on his wheelchair. And if you ask me personally, I'm the kind of person who needs to move my hand, walk, jump, and tell a story. That's my style. So when I told the story, I just forgot about the child and I said, come on, everyone, let's jump and sing. And that's when I saw the child. I actually connected with him. I saw that I don't know whether it's helplessness or what. He just looked into my eyes. So that's when I thought, oh my God, as a storyteller, I should be more responsible about my group, the listeners who are going to be with me for the next 30 minutes or 45 minutes. Just be a little aware of these things. That's about it. I think a lot of things from your heart. Keep doing, keep experimenting, keep exploring. Yeah, then it helps. Yeah. So each one's got their own style, and we'll just figure it out that what works. Like for me, I cannot have a proper script and tell a story. That's the biggest handicap for me if I were to use that word, because I fumble a lot if I had to have a structure. So I make sure that I go with the flow. I am like that. So that's one thing. Yeah. So one thing that comes to my mind, in fact, a story. I think I'll tell this because you're working a lot with youngsters, right? And this is a story, Eshan, which I use extensively as part of my elevator pitch to introduce myself or present my company. And for the whole of, I think, 2 weeks, I've been talking to my students about on this particular topic, that this story is in the top of my mind. I love this story, and this story is more like my theme story. So it goes like this. There was a little girl who was walking across the seashore. She could feel the grittiness of the sand on her soul because she was not wearing chappals also. She was just enjoying everything. She wore a plain frock with an embroidery made by her grandmother. It made her feel so happy and good. The breeze was blowing on her face, her hair was flying, but she was trying to move away, keep away from her face. She enjoyed the beach all the time she came over there, every time she came over there. As she kept walking, and as the waves came roaring towards her, she jumped high up. That's when she looked down. She saw a starfish. washed ashore. She had never seen a starfish before. She was a little scared, but she bent down and she picked up the starfish in her hand. Oh, and she threw it back into the water because she had realized because of the waves, the starfish had been washed to the shore. She felt happy. She continued to walk, enjoying the beach. She saw another starfish. She picked it up and she threw it back into the water. So, Ishan, there's another starfish. Can you give it to me? You can bend down, pick it up, and give it to me. Ishan. Ha, yeah. Great. That's how we work together in a story. So she took another starfish and she threw it back into the water. And she continued doing this as she kept walking. There came her uncle, her chacha, and said, "What are you doing here all alone? What difference is it going to make? There are so many starfishes right till the end. You're going to be wasting time." The uncle told the little girl. The little girl, in all her innocence, smiled, looked up at her uncle and said, "Yeah, Chacha ji, but you know what? It will make a difference to the one I threw back." So that's the little story, and it's written by Lauren Esley. And I believe that I am like that little girl. So this story keeps me motivated. So I really don't know whether any drastic changes or anything. But over the years, throughout my journey, I've kind of told myself, just like that girl, that I don't know, I will continue to keep doing these small, small things through my stories. So I try. I try. In most of the places, it has worked. There have been people who have come back to me and said that we liked your story. Your story gave us hope. There have been children who have come back to me and said, "Ma'am, you know what? From now onwards, we decided to use both the sides of the paper. We are not going to be waste paper." There have been youngsters who have come to me and they've said, "Yeah, we too are going to keep trying." So, and especially during the lockdown, I was really perturbed about the stray animals. And I picked up a few stories and because that was close to me at that point of time. Now there are multiple thoughts in my head. At that point of time, it was only those. How do we reach out? So, whichever storytelling session I did, my focus would be only around the stray animals. Where will they find food? Can we do? And we always finished it with a discussion. I felt so good when children used to come back or leave small messages saying, "Ma'am, today we kept some grains on the window, ma'am. We kept a small bowl of water, ma'am. We put some biscuits outside." So this is what I believe in. And stories really have that power to bring those massive big changes. So now, because you are working so much with the young people, I dedicate this favorite starfish story of mine to you and all the people, all the young people, yeah, all the young people who are supporting your cause. So yeah, that's one thing. It's been a very,
The
yeah.
idea, yeah, the idea of matching the activism with storytelling is a nice idea of collaborating two different things together to make something unique. I think somebody is asking for another story, but I afraid we do not have much time for that. But I think we got to know so much, Priya, from you. That is why you are one of my favorites, because you are such an innovative person, and and we need more storytellers like you. You have been working to revive, I think, folk tales also. You were doing some sessions on folk tales. So I think that is also very unique to introduce folk tales to young children in a unique way, because that is what our culture is, that is what our tradition is, and that is slowly being forgotten. So we have to save that. So thank you very much, Priya, for joining in. And before we leave, I would like to ask you how this lockdown treated you. what all activities you worked on. Yeah, like you mentioned, you were actively working on the animal rights and activism related to stray animals. So what else you did in this lockdown?
See, firstly, Ishan, I'm a very, I get upset very soon. I can become happy. I'm jolly good. I'm a very, very normal person. So I don't treat myself as, you should be like this. I just play along. That's it. So I did have my ups and downs. In fact, I was sick during the lockdown. But what kept me going is, I think, the connect with people, because storytelling is all it's like connecting with people, right? And there have been times during my growing up days when I have felt that why am I an introvert? I have felt bad. Public speaking used to be, oh my god, such a scary thing for me. Yeah, but I'm very grateful to storytelling because it's something which is from my heart. I can connect to people without the usual conversations, in the sense I'm more comfortable on the stage. I'm much more comfortable when I tell stories because there is something else. I don't know who you are, where you're coming from, but what binds you and me in that half an hour is only the story. That's all. We are in the same wavelength. So I'm very grateful to that. And during the lockdown, storytelling, a little bit of translation work, reflecting upon how things were and thinking about how things are going to be, facing the new challenges, all these. Yeah. Now that we have online sessions happening, a very different ball game altogether. Equipping ourselves for that. That's how my day goes.
Yeah, hope to see you soon, Priya, someday when we get back to normal. Maybe in Bangalore, or maybe if you come to Delhi, you can let me know. So thank you very much, Priya, for taking out time from your busy schedule of storytelling, because I see a lot of posters that you are doing. Every day you do some storytelling sessions. So those of you who are interested in storytelling can reach out to Priya on her Facebook page, that is Storypur, and maybe she can train you to be a good storyteller as good as she is. So thank you so much, Priya, and thank you so much everybody who joined us live.
Thank you so much, Ishan. I'm so glad, I must say the truth, that the past few years I'm connecting a lot more with people, in that 20, 25 years old, the youngsters. So I feel very good and I feel very inspired and charged. Thanks a lot. Best wishes to you and your venture, Karwaan. All the best to everyone who took time to listen to me patiently. Thank you, Ishan, for the opportunity.
Thank you.